guys, this is Just Out, and I would like to welcome you to the Girl Do It Yourself podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Do It Yourself podcast. I am your host, Just Out, and this is now going to be my very first episode of 2025. Last year, unfortunately, turned out to kind of be a bust. I had a lot of big plans, and then I just couldn't make it a priority, I guess. Had a great reason, but I hit a point of overwhelm for a little while, some burnout, focused on my kids and my family over the summer. I got something stuck in my teeth. I can feel it. Sorry. And then I actually got, after the episode that I talked about launching my interior design business and doing all that sort of stuff, I actually got my first client, which I had always envisioned my first client being like a new bedroom or maybe a bathroom reno. And it turned out to be essentially a full house, like cosmetic upgrade. We painted every wall. I designed a number of rooms with wallpaper and wainscoting, and then I personally installed all of that. So it was a big project. No pulling down walls, no real true construction, replace some doors, kind of things like that. But it was a lot, and I learned a lot. It was great. My client was amazing. So I couldn't have asked for a better first project. Don't have anything right now lined up, but hopefully that will change soon. But that's not really what I was planning on talking about today. Maybe I'll go into more depth about that project in a different episode. But in this one, I have something that I have to admit. I have officially become that person. The one who looks at the back of the box of every product to read the ingredient list. One who talks about eating organic and all the other things. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit at the end of this. I've seen people doing like what's in for 2025 and out for 2024, but I don't really like to date my episodes too much. So I am just going to call it the 5 things I used to think were bullshit. And quick segue from that is just a heads up. These episodes will most likely be labeled explicit from now on. Fun fact about me, I actually have a huge potty mouth. I hide it for the most part on my social media and on my online presence because, I don't know, it felt like I should. And this is not going to be like R-rated, but I might drop an F-bomb every now and then. I feel like that's just more me. I am, as a friend of mine just called me recently, a bit of a wild child in the sense that you kind of never know what's going to come out of my mouth next. You never know what new idea is going to be coming out of my mouth. It's kind of just, I'm a bit of a free-for-all chaos train, and that's not even including throwing my kids into the mix. That is just me alone. So that is just a fair warning. Maybe not plan to listen to these episodes necessarily with a child who is going to be repeating things. Did I have something else? Oh my God, I do. Look at that. I got a huge piece of lettuce. Well, there we go. I guess, and the reason for that is, so I've always had a potty mouth since, I don't know, college. I worked in archaeology and we were out in a field digging holes. So there was no real like formal business, like type stuff. And then from there, I joined the military and there was just no real concern about that kind of stuff. So I just have developed that, and it is what it is. And I have tried. I used to be really worried about it around my kids. And then my middle child, when he was 4, he came home from his first week of preschool and asked me what it meant to hold up the middle finger, which was not something he had learned at home. And I kind of realized that they were going to hear and see and learn all of these things, all the bad things, if they're out in the world, right? They're out there, they're at school, they're interacting with other kids, and those kids have older siblings or they're exposed to things, and it's going to make its way to my kids. And so instead of stressing and hiding it, the tactic we've taken a little bit more is not like I don't curse around them all the time and anything like that, but it's sometimes used for emphasis. They typically know I'm being very serious if they hear a curse word, but they also know that those are not words for them to use. And so we talk about them and they learn the proper use and the proper time frame and what words are appropriate, which ones aren't, and how to react if they hear them at school and all that sort of stuff. So we kind of use them more as a teaching lesson. So anyway, so that's going to be kind of moving forward, just something that, I don't fucking care. So if you don't like it, then that's fine. And you can move on with your life and I will move on with mine with the people who do care, or no, with the people who don't mind. And with that being said, again, I'm not going to do a 2025 goal type thing because I have found that when I set big goals, I don't usually follow through with them. It seems too overwhelming, I think. So instead, I'm working on doing monthly and quarterly plans, and that will include like how many episodes of my podcast I want to record. So my goal right now is weekly, 1 a week. Maybe eventually it'll get to 2, we'll see. But right now, 1 a week. And that feels a lot less overwhelming than like, I want to get 100 done this year, right? So that's one of my current plans. So keep an eye out for that. I have been working on figuring out the most direct path to take with my design side of my business. And I have talked about this before. I'm going through a garden consultation course. So I am almost done getting certified to be a garden consultant. This is a program through Nicole Burke and her Gardenary system, which is a focus on intensive planting. So that's something that I am pulling in because I want to use it in the whole concept of wellness design. And what this means is turning your home and your lifestyle into something that is focused on your wellness and your family's wellness. And I have said this before, but everyone's wellness looks a little different, right? For some people, it's a stronger focus on mental wellness. For some people, it's a focus on physical wellness, so, exercise and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's no necessarily wrong way to do it, because as long as you are focusing on it and planning your life around some sort of concept of wellness, you are moving in the right direction. And so to tie into this with interior, I'm going to start talking a lot about transitioning to a non-toxic home. Some of the things that I've already done, and I will be doing episodes on all of the different aspects of what this can mean. But for examples, quickly, I have transitioned to a new dishwasher detergent. So got away from the Colgate, no, that's toothpaste, Cascade pods, and went to a non-toxic hard powder tablet. Same with laundry. I'm working on transitioning into that. So that's from a company, those are both from a company called Blue Land. Deodorant is actually a really easy first step to transition, is to an aluminum-free, fragrance-free deodorant. And there's a number of companies that sell those. Right now I'm using one by Native. Toothpaste, fluoride-free toothpaste is one of the changes we've been making. What else? Plastic, trying to remove as much plastic away from our food as possible. That is crazy, because once you start paying attention to this, because microplastics are a big concern right now, but when you start paying attention to how often plastic is near your food, it's like even organic stuff is still wrapped in plastic. And so like getting rid of plastic storage containers, I didn't throw them out, but I use them now for like small sets of Legos or other things that aren't related to food. And then if we bring something home from the grocery store that is in plastic, I try to transition it into a glass jar, glass container. Glass is one of the best options. Stainless steel will be a great second. Stay away from aluminum foil if you can, plastic wrap, all that kind of stuff. But, and then in the kitchen while we're there, stainless steel, cast iron, and are two well-known and definitely good cooking pan styles. I have a couple from a company called Green Pan, and they use a ceramic coating that is nonstick. Right now, it is considered to be a safe option, but you know how that goes with all that stuff. So anyway, that's just a little sneak peek into sort of the non-toxic stuff I'm going to be talking about. And I am working on creating a resource kind of thing around that. So that is what's coming up. Today, I also want to talk about that the FDA banned red dye number 3 yesterday. So it is going to take a couple years for this to actually go into effect. So don't assume that that's a product that's not going to be in our food starting today. And it's also, I mean, people say the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the smallest, little itty bitty tip of the iceberg. But it's a start. And I think the reason that they started with red dye 3 is because like 25 years ago or 35 years ago, they banned it in cosmetics because they knew it caused cancer in mice. So should have happened a long time ago, but hey, I mean, at least we're making steps in the right direction. But I caveat at the beginning with that it's not going into effect technically today, just to, and today is, what's today? January 16th. So early January of 2025, we are moving in the right direction officially. Hopefully, if you're watching this and it's, next year or a different, later this year, whatever, in the future, you are rolling your eyes at me because you're like, oh, yeah, they're all banned by now, right? So that's my hope. But at the moment, it is kind of an exciting thing because the products that are in our food are terrifying for many, many reasons. And so I am going to let this roll me into the 5 things I used to think were bullshit, because a lot of them are focused around the food that we consume and the products that are around us. And so my number 1 is, let me get my notes really quick. You are what you eat. I used to think that was the dumbest thing ever. Like, just because I eat something, I poop it out, right? Like, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. It gives my body fuel to move, and that's it. Well, that is definitely a true statement. The more processed, sugary, full of junk food is gonna make you feel like junk. And the healthier food that you eat that has nutrients and is full of life, you will feel full of life. That piece of lettuce that I pulled out of my tooth earlier was a piece of lettuce that I grew in my garden, in my backyard, that I picked 10 minutes before I ate it. And it tastes so much better than grocery store lettuce. Eating a salad used to be like pulling teeth for me. And part of it was because it tasted gross. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't taste like candy, but it has flavor, and you can see the moisture in it and know it is full of things that are healthy for us. And that leads to this mental side of things where I know that what I am currently eating, it might not taste like a piece of cake, but it is going to fuel my body and give my body the nutrients that it needs. And so that mental side of things really helps me take those steps and stick with. I had a salad like that, and they're not big. Here, it fits in this bowl. It's not a huge salad. I throw a few little, I have like a mix of nuts and dried fruit to give it a little sweetness, and that's it. I eat one every day, or most days, and I grow a lot of it in my garden. And my garden is where we have been growing since last spring, actually, coming up on a year in April, I think. And I am also going to be working on installing or helping people set up their gardens. I'm going to offer coaching. I'm going to offer coming and actually maintaining and harvesting for you. If someone nearby obviously wants a garden, but they don't have the time or they don't think they have an interest in maintaining it, I can help them. So anyway, the gardening and learning how to grow your own food has become one of my whys for a lot of things. And then my kids love it. They love spending time with me out there. Sometimes, they get a little too excited and pull a carrot when it's only like this big. But for the most part, though, they are learning so much, and it is just a place where we can connect and learn together, and it's just been really special. It's just been a great experience, and really helps with my anxiety when it comes to all of this stuff, is feeling like I have some control over some of it. We have grown broccoli and Brussels sprouts and green beans, so I have big plans for this spring. All right, moving on. Number 2 of things I used to think were bullshit: organic. Earlier, when I said I have officially become that person, this is part of it. I have officially become that person who wants to make sure, wants to make sure that almost everything that we consume is organic or as close to. And that is because I now know too much about the additives, chemicals that go into tons of our food. And then when you turn to fresh produce from mass-produced farms and all that kind of stuff, you're looking at massive amounts of pesticides and what's the other one? Herbicides, chemicals, all the chemicals that, now, don't get me wrong, I understand why a lot of this came about. In order to feed a population that lives the way we do, which means you pull the majority of the population into the workforce, you need to now be the government or large corporations need to be the ones who now supply food, because the normal everyday person isn't supplying themselves with their own food. So you need to be able to be producing at very large quantities. Now, if you are growing crops and you're at risk of a pest coming through and decimating your crop that year, it's going to put at risk the population and how much food they're able to consume. So the concept I understand, but unfortunately it has gone too far, all of it. And that's the thing. If it was just one thing, maybe we'd all be able to justify pesticides on plants, on fresh produce, right? But we're looking at pesticides, we're looking at microplastics, we're looking at heavy metals, it's coming at us from every direction. And that's the part that feels really overwhelming. That's the part that is just exhausting. And so the very least, when we go to the store and we choose to buy organic, we know that to an extent, in order for a company to be labeled USDA organic, they have to meet certain criteria. So I know that for the most part, I am making that best decision for my family. And an interesting thing that has happened since we've removed all of even the snacks that we didn't think were that bad, after removing all of them. And so this is something I've spoken about already, as well as the folic acid. Folic acid in Reach. Folic acid is a synthetic form of folate, which is in all of your enriched and fortified grains. And so we're talking cereals, bread, all these things. And with MTHFR gene mutation, which is something I have and potentially the rest of my family, the only way to determine that a grain is not fortified, sprayed with a chemical, is really, you have to get it organic, because a company is not actually required to put fortified or enriched. They started doing that because they thought that was a good marketing ploy. Sorry, I had to get that snot out. They thought it was a good marketing ploy. And they thought that if they told parents that this sugary cereal is enriched or fortified, that they would feel better about feeding it to their kids. And they were right, probably. I know I used to see it and think it was good. But now that I know better, I will break out. I don't know if you can see, but I'm recovering from a folic acid cheat day, and that's just what happens on the outside, right, of my body. So what the heck is going on the inside? I don't even. Anyway, so organic is something that I used to think was a marketing ploy. I used to think it was bullshit, and it is now almost a non-negotiable for many reasons. And but what I was saying was, since we removed all the snacks that were not organic, my kids snack significantly less. They are not constantly in our pantry, like climbing up the shelves like wild animals, trying to find something to eat. And that's a whole nother topic. What that means is we actually don't have to buy as much food. And so weirdly enough, our cost to transition to organic is really actually not much higher, if at all, from our previous grocery bills, even with the rate of the cost of everything right now. So just something to consider, I guess, because we were obviously initially very concerned about it. And the initial transition, and we're still working on it, like when you transition like condiments and all that stuff, that can be a little pricey because it's like restocking all the stuff. But anyway, so okay, moving on to number 3 of things I used to think were bullshit. Kale. I used to roll my eyes when I used to hear like nutrition people, or I used to work at a gym at a Planet Fitness many years ago, and you'd see, oh, I put kale in my smoothie, and I was like, you guys and your fucking kale, like what, like how dumb can you sound? Luckily I kept most of those opinions and those comments to myself, so I wasn't the one sounding dumb, but these conversations were going on in my head, and I thought it was just so dumb. Well, I now grow kale in my garden. I'm very sad because one of them has aphids right now, which is a pest that is a pain in the butt to get rid of. And I'm actually kind of sad because only one of my 5 or 6 plants survived the initial transition. So I will be getting some more kale, and I guess I get it now. It really does taste kind of good. I put it in my smoothies and all those things. So vitamins, nutrients, and what's really cool about it is it survives cool weather winters. So we have had multiple frosts, multiple nights below freezing, and they haven't even skipped a beat. All of that's perfectly fine. So kale is my number 3. All right. Number 4 is self-help. I used to think I knew it all, I guess. I used to think that anything that I needed to know, I could figure out on my own. Like that's like the self-help section of books in Barnes & Noble. Avoid it like the plague. Like roll my eyes, walk by, like look down on people who read those books. Thought it was the dumbest thing ever. It's funny how as you get older, I think definitely becoming a mother really taught me that I had no fucking clue what I was doing about anything, pretty much. They just teach you how much you suck, basically, how much you don't know. And so one of my favorite podcasters is Jenna Kutcher, and she does some, I wouldn't really classify her as self-help. She's definitely more business-based, but she talks more about like women and like whole health and that kind of stuff. And so she touches a little bit on probably the self-help topic every now and then. And then I've recently started listening to Mel Robbins. What I've learned is it's very interesting to hear other people's ideas and opinions and then take what they say and decide what of it you want to use in your life. For example, she just released a book. This is not and I haven't read the book. I have heard her talk about it a couple times on a couple different podcasts, including her own. And it's her let them theory. And this one hits pretty hard for me, and for a number of reasons. But basically means let them think what they will about you. Let them think you're mean. Let them think you're whatever, right? Like let them think whatever it is that they're going to think, because you have no control over what other people are going to think about you at all. No matter what you do, it can be completely differently interpreted by everyone differently, right? And so the only thing you can control is what you do and how you feel. And so the follow-up to let them that she talks about in her theory is let me. Now let me not get upset about this. Let me know that I am a good person. I had meant what I did. I meant what I meant. What I did, I meant from a good place. So that is just an example of one of the topics that I have been listening to. She also talks a lot about habit forming and productivity, goal forming, goal setting, all that kind of stuff. And I have been finding it very interesting. And so I have switched sides. Probably if I walked into a bookstore right now, which I don't even know if we have a local bookstore. There might be one. I might actually beeline it for the self-help section. But unfortunately, I only have so much time in my day and I can't seem to always fit that kind of stuff in. But I try whenever I can. And so that is number 4 of things I used to think were bullshit. And number 5, I have on my list meditation. I'm going to throw like yoga into that. I have been active my entire life. I started competitive gymnastics when I was 5 and did that for many, many years. And I was super high level competition. I mean, we're talking 7 days a week, 3 hours a day, high intensity exercise, workout, all the things, right? And that was how I was basically trained to move my body, was just in this really, really intense way. And then I moved from there into soccer. I played soccer all through college, and that is constant movement, constant running. I mean, they say if you play a full game, you're going to run about 7 miles. And running is I enjoy running. I'm actually running half marathon next weekend on the 25th of January. But anyway, so that was my perception of exercise and wellness, I guess. And while I still struggle with meditation because my ADHD brain never shuts the fuck up, ever. And actually, I just learned, side note, that not everyone's brains work in a conversation. And I didn't know that, because I have a never-ending conversation going on up here, just snapping from one cortex to the other, whatever the words are called. But anyway, so meditation I do struggle with. I prefer, like, I have an app called Superhuman, and it has these pre-recorded video or audios that are like encouraging but still calming. But yoga I have found to be one of my favorite, if not my very favorite type of exercise now, because it is calming. It's slow, it's soothing, it's a lot of breathing, and it really calms my nervous system, which I didn't realize was super out of whack. Like I used to think like sitting down and doing a yoga session was dumb. You're not sweating, you're not using any muscles, like you're not getting a good workout in. False. False, false, false. Some of the days that I am the most sore after a workout is after I did a slow yoga, holding poses and isometric muscle toning or whatever is insane. And it can be, and it forces you to focus. And that was for me why I love running, is because if I run long enough and hard enough, it gets to a point where it does shut my brain off. It's almost my form of meditation. It shuts my brain off, because if I'm not focusing on the next step that I'm going to put my foot down at, I'm going to fall on my face. And that is why I love running and intense workouts, because it's the only time that I'm ever able to truly get my brain to shut off and stop running all the extra background apps. But with yoga, I can get that without like intensity. And it's really nice because for me, I need that calming sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I love to go for a good run every once in a while. They're my therapy. But I used to think yoga and meditation were bullshit. And the people who did it and the yogis were all crazy people. And here I am, just like wishing I could be the one doing, the handstand on a tree in the woods in flowy, colorful clothes. Not that I necessarily ever would do that, but I wouldn't be upset if I ever found myself there. And so all of that being said, welcome to the new version of Girl Do It Yourself podcast. I hope you guys are going to enjoy the new topics I talk about. I'm also going to talk about DIY projects and interior design still. I'm actually supposed to be painting my bedroom right now. I told my husband that's what I was working on today. I hung a board and batten accent wall 2 days ago, painted that part of our room yesterday, and I'm trying to finish the rest of the room because we have been in our house for a year and a half, and our mattress is still on the floor. But part of our Christmas gift to ourselves is to turn our master bedroom into our retreat. And we have a bed frame arriving today, I think. And part of the problem was I couldn't make up my mind. And then I did order a bed twice. And both times it didn't come with hardware. So I gave the pieces away to my sister-in-law who went and found the pieces and put it together. So it's actually in our downstairs guest room. Anyway, so I finally decided on all the pieces, and we are finally going to have a proper bedroom for the first time in a year and a half. We hesitated on the bed frame because the cheap ones tend to break, and so we didn't want to buy a cheap one again that we were just going to have to replace again in a couple months or whatever. So I will also be talking about those things. I'm really excited to share this project at its final because we're going to also get new bedding and curtains and nightstands. And I have a closet system to put in so I can get all the clothes that are in my bedroom out and into my closet. So very exciting things happening there that I am also going to be talking about. And I've got a few really exciting guests lined up. No one famous, just people I know who have really interesting information that I think all of us should know. And we're going to talk about things that are related to wellness and business and motherhood and all those fun things. So thanks again for coming back and checking out another episode. If you listened all the way through, thank you so much. It means so much to me to share this part of me in this way. And I can't wait for the way that the next year or so is going to play out. I've got big plans. Some I haven't shared yet. Ones that are always up in here. But yeah, up in my head. Always up in here. Bouncing around. Driving my husband nuts. Okay, so have a great rest of your day. And so thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Do It Yourself podcast. Until next time, stay creative, girl, and remember, you can do it yourself.